So Liam, what do you expect to see in a typical thriller film?
Normally there's a lot of fast-paced kind of chases, like action scenes. Helps to build, like a fast-paced film, and it really adds to the tension and intensity of the whole film. There's also a lot of kind of firing guns and shooting and action scenes along those lines, and I think that helps because guns are a real life thing
that create danger as such, I suppose.
Of course. You could say that looking at a gun just creates the kind of emotions of just fear and anger, and when you see a gun you go, oh, and suddenly your adrenaline starts pumping, and it really adds to the kind of intensity.
Have you got anything to say about maybe the editing of a thriller film or a thriller film trailer as such?
Always fast-paced. You look at, it's not always fast-paced, you've got to have some slow bits to add. And that's another thing I'd actually just quickly say. Kind of slow moments and adding character development, make your characters seem lifelike and realistic and really get an attachment to them. But also going back to the fast pace, I think when you watch a thriller, you want to be on the edge of your seat and you always want to be, oh, what's next? Guessing. And it really adds to just kind of the tension, the suspense, and just the overall pace of the film, making it really fun.
Okay, Liam, so I just want to quickly add on a question of saying, what is your personal favourite thriller film?
I would have to say it's probably The Dark Knight. It's not your typical kind of idea, even though it takes aspects from thriller films. So like, for example, Batman's kind of good against the Joker, the evil, it's cops kind of versus robbers and along those lines. But it's fast-paced, it's got guns in it, it's got all the kind of conventions and the imagery you would associate with a thriller film, and overall I just think it's really good fun.
Okay, thank you very much, Liam. Okay, Isaac, so can you tell me what you expect to see in a typical thriller film from the music perspective?
So in like a typical thriller film, you usually get like really intense music, so it's usually like building up to something and creates a lot of suspense. So particularly like if there's like a lot of action happening on screen, then the music will be really like action packed and kind of like build up that tension. And also like when like characters go around a corner or something and something's about to jump out of them, it's usually like there's silence and then there's like a big like noise, like drums or something, to like really like shock you. So like silence and music's really effective because they both like create, like if you have music and then you have silence and then you suddenly have like a massive loud noise, it creates like a lot of suspense and then a sudden jump, which is quite cool. But also you can have like parallel or contrapuntal music, I guess, like, so you could have like music which kind of like fits, which is meant to be really scary, or you have music which shouldn't really be there, like and then that makes it still feel kind of creepy because it makes it seem a bit more like sadistic, I guess. So I kind of quite like contrapuntal music actually. I find that is usually quite effective, particularly in trailers.
Why do you like contrapuntal music more than parallel?
I guess it's because like you shouldn't be scared, like it should be comforting you almost, but it isn't, because it's still like something horrific or like something scary is happening on screen. So there's like, for example, like I think it's in actually I can't remember the film, Inglourious Basterds I think it's in, where like they have the torture scene but he's playing like 1950s music, or is that, I can't remember what film.
Okay, I don't know.
But yeah, that's really like creepy. And that's quite...
So it kind of contradicts what's happening on screen.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
And as a final question, what is your personal favourite thriller film?
I guess I'd have to say either something like Silence of the Lambs or Pulp Fiction. I guess Pulp Fiction's like quite contrapuntal as like a whole, because it's like got some dark humour and some humour in it, which kind of like contrasts to like the really dramatic scenes and stuff, which is kind of cool.
Okay, thank you very much, Isaac. So Cameron, what do you expect to see from typical characters in a thriller film?
Well, I like to see I like them to be relatable. I like them to relate to me, so they have problems in their everyday lives. They have work to do. They have have to earn a living for their family. I also like for them to be very strong and intimidating. I don't want someone who is weak. I want someone I can back, someone I know they will win the fight. I also like to be. I wouldn't like them to speak a lot. I like them to be quite badass. Like you have to, so you can be intimidating. So they can be intimidating, really. And yeah, that's what.
So you don't like them to have too much dialogue to kind
Not
of
too
take
much,
away
not
from
too
their
much.
character. Okay, and as a quick question, what is your favourite thriller film in your personal opinion?
My favourite thriller film is has to be Jaws. I just love Jaws. I love the main protagonist, Brody. He's a really good guy. I can relate to him. He's got a job. He's got a family that are in danger because of the shark, and I also just love him. I love the shark.
So just want to quickly point out that you think that in a thriller film you need to be able to relate to the character and the character's life in order for you to kind of enjoy the film and enjoy watching the characters on screen.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Cameron. Okay, Dan, so what do you expect to see in like a typical storyline of a thriller film?
Storyline in thriller films, let me think. Well, a lot of the time you sort of go with the good guy versus bad guy, as you do in most films, protagonist versus antagonist. You get a lot of crime thrillers, which I like, with, you know, police officers or FBI people who go against, you know, crooks, and then normally you got other movies they incorporate like stuff to make it more meaningful and impactful. They incorporate family matters, like in the film Seven, obviously Brad Pitt's character, the villain John Doe, played by Kevin Spacey, brings in his wife into the matter, which obviously brings in both family matters and make it really personal, really interesting to our audience, but keeps the base subline just good versus evil, which if you really narrow it down any thriller film, that is all they are, good versus evil with high suspense in them. And I mean, there's other ways to do this, like in many films you do have just bad guys versus even badder guys instead of good guys versus bad guys, which is sort of a flip on the stereotypical conventions of protagonist versus antagonist, so it's sort of an anti-hero. I think character-wise though in storylines, we normally have like about one main character who's like the main focus, but they have a lot of supporting casts who then create in-depth, interesting subplots. If I go if I go to Memento, for example, the main story is Leo trying to remember his memory and revenge his wife's death, but a subplot is the character, who I can't remember the name for the life of me, who shows romantic interest towards him. The subplot is that she is trying to get drug money to pay off debts and all this, which is the subplot which comes in, which then adds depth into the story, which then makes thriller films one of my personal favourites. It's just layered really, really well.
Okay, Dan, and just as a final question, what is your personal favourite thriller film and why?
I think at the moment, I mean it varies depending what sort of mood I'm in, but I'm really like Memento at the moment. Obviously Christopher Nolan from the year 2000, it's got Guy Pearce, it's got loads of phenomenal actors, and to be perfectly honest, I think it's more the storyline, the fact he's lost his memory and the way it's actually cinematography's done, filmed in reverse, so he's got the flashbacks and all this. Like, I had to watch it twice to fully understand it, and I love it when a thriller film really provokes you, like, mentally like that.
Okay, thank you very much, Dan. Okay, so Anthony, what typical camera shots do you expect to see in a typical thriller film?
One of the ones that I find that are typical in thriller films are point of view shots. It allows the audience to see from the perspective of either the victim or the attacker. It allows a sense of tension to build because you may see through their eyes, but you won't be able to see who the person is. So if it's a victim and you're seeing through their eyes, you can't see who the victim is until it's shown later on in the film, or the attacker. You only see through the attacker's point of view, so then the audience won't be able to say who it is. Another one of my favourite shots is establishment shots. This allows the audience to see where the film is actually set. It allows it's sort of a starting point for thriller films, really. It allows the audience to just know where it is, what aspects of the place is. So if it's an urban area, an establishment shot over the urban area, that gives a sense of open space, vastness. But also with urban areas it can indicate claustrophobia, because when you get into it, it's rather enclosed, quite cramped. Another one of my favourite shots is a tilt shot. This is where the camera is tilted at a slight angle. This allows the directors and the cameraman to give a sense of disorientation to the audience, because it's not a straight line shot, it's all tilted. so then people are nervous and on edge about what could happen. Another one is a shaky shot where the camera's shaking itself. This is really useful with thriller films because it sort of allows, because when you get nervous you shake a little, so it sort of gives a sense of the audience that the people are nervous and so they're shaking, and it indicates through the shaking of the camera. Another one of my favourite shots is tracking shots as well. The tracking shots are really good because it just follows the main line of action. So there could be a massive chase, so you have an attacker chasing the victim, and so the tracking shot follows it instead of just cutting backwards and forwards. It allows the audience to sort of see the surrounding area as well.
So Anthony, as a final kind of overall question, what is your personal favourite thriller film?
My favourite thriller film has to be Valkyrie. Being one of my favourite subjects, history, Valkyrie's a historian film about a bomb plot in Nazi Germany, but it's really well done because it's very high tension, and it just, the way it's been put together is amazing.
Okay, thank you very much, Anthony. So Neve, what do you expect to see in a typical thriller film setting, or like a typical location for a thriller film to be set in?
I think a lot of thriller films do set them in urban areas, but I think rural areas work really well because they're isolated and anything could happen. I think a small town is very good, and because there's like small little local pubs where the protagonist can go and cool down, and there should also be like a family home for them to return to and be happy and jolly. But I think many thriller films are based in rural areas, like What Lies Beneath, because it's such a good film. It literally gets people on the edge of their seats, and as a family it's really strange because it talks about how there are different people who could have murdered one person, and it does make the audience question, but with it being a rural area there aren't many people to question, and there aren't many people who could be the suspect. And towards the ending of the film it's in a big city, so it kind of then makes you wonder who would go into a large area where there would be lots of people to commit a crime.
Okay, and as a final question, what is your favourite thriller film and why?
My favourite thriller film would probably be What Lies Beneath, because there is such a suspense throughout the whole film and it's just a really good film.
Okay, thank you, Neve. Okay, so Miles, so what do you expect to see in a typical thriller film?
Well, one of the main components would be, it needs to have an in-depth storyline, so obviously the audience can connect with the actual film itself. Develops characters as well, so it makes the characters a bit more interesting, give them background as to why they're in that certain situation within the film. Just basically quick editing to make certain scenes look more intense, and also when it comes to like sound and music, that's also another massive effect, which is like usually creates like an intense build-up towards a scene, and that's one of the components that I usually see in thriller films. So yeah.
So, and as a final question, what is your favourite thriller film and why?
It's quite a hard one. I think my favourite would probably have to be Panic Room, just because of how intense it is and how non-complex it is, because it's such a simple idea, but yet they use it so effectively in all the conventions and aspects within the film so well, and it just makes the actual thriller film itself such a good film, and that's probably why it's one of my favourite thriller films.
Okay, thank you, Miles.
Thank you, Jack.